Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and friends, we just hope you're 18 because we just might swear on this podcast. Today we have two guests. We have the king of old school. He's back. Everybody's been wondering where he is. Well, he's right there with that giant, beautiful beard. And he brought Austin, who is a new friend joining us. If you guys haven't already heard, we're sick of talking about him. You got to help us get more views. I'm sick of plugging Randy on this podcast. I mean, he did one video. No one even likes it. It got 1,300 views. We got to beat that. We got to get Chad and Austin on here because, we're sick of Randy's stupid face. We're going to talk about my fiance a little bit here to get it out of the way. Randy, take a shot. We are close to getting married. She hasn't ran away yet, so that is still a thing on the podcast here. Chad, how are you doing today? Welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm good. Just got some taco bust in my belly. How you doing?
I am doing great. I was having a big, good beard day, but then the wind kind of ruined it. Yours looks good as always, so.
Humidity.
Yeah. Austin, how are you doing today?
I can't complain, honestly. I'm not in New York where the blizzard's been hitting, so
okay.
I'm happy.
Gotcha. Yeah, we just got one here in Wisconsin. It's the shits, so.
And then it's going to blow across the lakes and hit New York.
There we go. Your favorite state. So, like I said in the intro there, everybody's been asking where you are. We know you've been doing the 5Ks. You've been loving those puppies. You've been taking the wife out to Disney. You've been treating her right. How is the wife? How's she doing?
She's doing great. She is now a children's librarian.
Even
doing story times.
Perfect. Definitely got to get her on here on a future episode. I know she probably doesn't want to, but maybe I can bribe her with some Disney merch or something.
I never say never.
Perfect. All right, Austin, you know why you're here, unless Chad didn't tell you. Let's get into those first wrestling memories. What are some of your first wrestling memories?
Well, vividly, I remember this one incident where I was like 7 or 8, and I was supposed to be in bed, but I wasn't because I didn't want to be. And
Perfect.
I went downstairs. My father was watching Raw, and I wanted to see what was going on. So I'm sneaking down the stairs, trying to peek through the railings, and the first thing I see is Spirit Squad in the ring with Vince McMahon and Shawn, and it's the spot where they throw him up and they smash him down on the table. I think that was my first experience with wrestling.
Okay.
And before I could see any more, my dad's like, "Go to bed." So.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't I guess really into the Spirit Squad, but they did have some memorable moments. One being obviously Dolph Ziggler that eventually transitioned, but I think they were just there to get their asses kicked, if I'm right. So.
Yeah, pretty much.
So was there any other characters as you continued to watch it that stood out to you? Any favorites or anybody that just kind of sucked you in?
So the moment I saw Rey Mysterio, I was hooked. I loved his look. I loved what he did. He was kind of my idol as a kid growing up. I loved Batista.
Okay.
The Boogeyman. I remember one time I was watching SmackDown in my parents' bedroom. It was the SmackDown Fist era, and King Booker and Queen Charlotte are in the ring. They're cutting a promo, and then his music starts playing, and the lights go dark and turn red. And I just remember I was looking at it. I was in awe. I didn't know what was going on, but I loved it.
Yeah, the Boogeyman definitely, when I met him, freaked me the hell out. Chad, you're bringing out all the curse words in me here. Eating the worms, doing that little shimmy shake that he does, and smashing the clock over his head. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just getting. I mean, he yelled at a little kid, The kid started crying. He kind of came out of character, got them autographs, got them pictures. He's like, hey, I'm really your friend here, yada, yada, yada. Super nice. But then when I get up there, he screams, and I freaked out. But I didn't get my free autograph or, told me that he was my friend. But like yeah. I mean, he wears the mask when he's not in full, gimmick, and yeah, the dude definitely is awesome. Yeah, I like the Boogeyman, but he freaks me out. So
I have a sidebar. We came down from New York to Florida and went to WrestleMania 33.
Mhm.
And we were asking a question at the front desk. We happened to stay at the same hotel that WrestleCon was at for the first night. And all of a sudden, I just hear somebody yelling. And I turn around, and there is a little person screaming at my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time. But I turn around, and I'm like, who is this little dude? And it was Little Boogie. It was Boogeyman's miniature friend.
Yep.
And the look of terror on her face is he's just yelling at her. He reeks of booze. He's just like, hey, you want a picture with me? And like, just trying to seduce her, I guess. And she's just like in horror. And so I take a picture of them, and she still has no clue who it is. So she's got this awkward face that she told me to never show the picture, even though I still have it.
I need to see it.
And he reeked of booze. And he's like, you just got a little boogie, and walked away. Okay, cool. We were going to dinner. We literally just driven like 20 hours to get there. And
Yeah.
we're going to dinner. And she's just like, what is going on? And I had to explain to her over dinner what just happened to her.
That's hilarious. I know they did like a lot of those like miniature ones. Like they did like the mini Gold Dust, Vader, Mankind back in the day. I mentioned the Spirit Squad. I remember they did the little Spirit Squad where they had DX on their ass, and yeah, it was funny.
Was there a Kane?
Don't remember Mini Kane. There could have been. Not saying there wasn't.
Yeah, I remember back to the '90s. This is probably before your time, Austin. They did have a midget wrestler called Max Mini, and he was a luchador, and he's probably 3 feet tall at most. God, I can't remember what pay-per-view that is, but they had that opening match, and he was just flying all over the ring, and it was just phenomenal. Man, I'm gonna have to look at it because I think Sonny was the guest referee too.
I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't get enough credit for how good they are, and it's sad that it's a novelty act because they're they need to make a living too.
Yep.
They're not the laughing stock.
And I know down in Mexico, there's another guy. He's dressed up as like a gorilla, in a blue gorilla. And there's that viral clip where he's sitting on the apron, and the guy drop kicks him, and he just goes, flying like he almost died. Man.
Yeah. What the hell?
I'll have to find the clip. I might have to drop it in here. I'm getting a little better with editing there. But yeah, it definitely it's one of the craziest videos I've seen. And just seeing that poor little guy, no pun intended this time, just get rocket launched off the apron.
Ya, Chole, que le busque otra variante. Ya que tanto que sea una de los infumables. ¡Ah! ¡Qué bueno que le fue a Soya! Ahí va, mira nada más. ¿Cómo cayó como pasajero de los infumables? ¡Ah! ¡Qué bueno que le fue a
drop kick, so.
Dude lands on his head too. Like, oh.
Yeah. So Austin, you mentioned that you like to, oh man, I'm losing my train of thought here. I've been doing so many of these today. You liked Batista, you liked Rey Mysterio. You mentioned Rey and his outfits. Was it more the acrobatics, or was it more the the attire that he wore that kind of sucked you in, or was there another reason?
It was both, because
Okay.
I'll be right back. Keep talking. I'll try.
Oh, don't worry, I'll talk for you.
No, it was both of that, because like every week it's like he'd come up with something different, some other look, some other color combination or
Yep.
theme, and just everything that he did in that ring. No matter who it was that he was with, he made everything look impactful, look like it hurt. And actually, just the other day, me and him we went to a comic shop, and I found this the Aztec WrestleMania attire that he
That's
came in
pretty
with,
sweet.
and it's like my absolute favorite thing that he's worn. So I had to get it.
Now I'm finally segueing with my brain being on autopilot there. What are your thoughts on him wrestling with his son right now?
Oh, I love what's going on with it.
I think it's great. It's fun.
I know that the report said that he doesn't want to do a feud with his son.
Mm-hmm.
He just wants to wrestle alongside with him. But I don't know if he begrudgingly agreed or if he finally it was like, okay, we can do it. He really wanted something, but I love what they're doing with it. It's that family tension kind of storyline. It always works.
Yeah.
And I just love how they keep making Dominic look like prison changes you. Like, it's stupid, but it's great.
It is great, and you can't take wrestling so serious. I know people like to critique everything AEW does or WWE does, but you have to have that filter in there because it can't all be serious. And the stuff that he's doing with Rhea just kind of reminds me of Eddie Guerrero in China, where he's just this goofball suck up, and she's the dominating force.
Yeah.
But like you said, when he mentions that prison changed him, that was exactly probably how I would react if I ever went to county jail for 2 hours. Be like, I'm a whole new man, So
So I have a funny story. I usually turn on wrestling at night when I fall asleep because I have to have something going at all times, and then I wake up and there's a clip of Ray doing an interview, and it was on Peacock, and he said, I would love for my son to come up to me and say that he wants to start wrestling. And he said, I would love to have a match against my son at WrestleMania. And this was when Dominic was 16.
Okay.
So I don't believe the reports that he doesn't want to wrestle Dominic. I believe that it's all kayfabe, and he's just kayfabing whomever until they actually go forth with the match.
And with them winning the tag team titles, I know it's not the first in wrestling father-son team. I know for WWE it was. Just to have that moment, passing the torch to your son, third-generation superstar. And a lot of people think that he's not the greatest superstar right now. But from where he started to where he is now, he's getting better. He's playing that chicken shit heel. He's he's doing his part. And if I remember right, he was I think a pretty damn good middle linebacker because Ray would always talk about him on Instagram. So he is an athlete. He's picking it up. No one's going to be perfect right off the bat, especially when you get just captivated to Raw and you're barely out of training. So for what he's done over the last 3-4 years or that he's been doing it, I got to applaud the dude. In the beginning, I thought it was kind of dumb, but like I said, I enjoy it now. It's funny. I enjoy watching him just be mommy, even though I don't like that term. It sounds weird, but it's just hilarious when they went out to dinner and then she has to pay for dinner and he runs off, so.
Dominic has made Judgment Day so much better. Mm-hmm. Ever since they kicked Edge out, just the inclusion of Dominic and him and what's her name?
Rhea.
Yeah, thank you, Rhea. Just their dynamic is so good.
Mhm.
It's a blast.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing too is that every group needs a stooge. I'm the stooge today. So it's a little bit relief for them trying to be serious because, I can even just kind of quote Lion King here. You had the two serious hyenas, and then you got Ed over there, chewing on his own foot. So it's good. It works. It's perfect chemistry. You got the leader, you got the tag team, you got the dominant person, and then you got, Mr. Stooge. So
Yeah, they could have added anybody to that group. They could have added The Undertaker to that group, and it still would have been corny as hell. But when they added Dominic and doing the stuff with Rhea, just made the group not so corny.
and it doesn't take away from her either. She's still out there, winning the Royal Rumble and stuff. So it's not hurting anybody. I know how people always say, "Oh, she's getting buried," or I hate that word. I think you and I have talked about that, and underutilized or don't use enough. It's like we hear that so much about every person, but I feel like if you're on TV every week or every other week, they're using you to see what you can do, So, and then same with Otis, shout out to Randy because he wants him to get fired, doing the Maximum Model thing. You can't have 6 to 7 big men out there all being a monster. You already have Braun. You got Almost, as I call him. I've been saying that for 3 episodes. You got Brock. You got Bobby Lashley. Like, that's 4 other people that are doing the big strong guy thing. So Otis doing that too, he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. So that's why he's got the comedy aspect of it to separate himself. And eventually he will become that dominating force down the road once these other veterans kind of leave. Because Mark Henry, look what he was doing with Mae Young. The World's Strongest Man thing in the beginning. I mean, it was more comedy. He had a hand with Mae Young, and he was sexual chocolate, stuff like that. But then when he got to the House of Pain, everybody took notice, like, hey, he ain't messing around no more. He's serious. He was world champion because of it. I mean, so let the stories, let the characters develop before we judge. I got long-winded there. Sorry, Austin. You're the star here, so
I'll say about Mark Henry, I really liked his Hall of Pain run.
Yes. Yep. When I met him, I was talking him up to my nephew, how he's one of the few people to lift a certain dumbbell over his head. I think there's been only like 5 or 6 guys that did that. And my nephew's like, okay, that's not cool. And I was like, well, ask him how much it was. And when Mark Henry told him how much it weighed, my nephew's eyes got like that big. And, the bar itself, pretty solid to get your hand around that alone, and then lift that beast over your head. So
was that like a 2-finger dumbbell thing?
No, it's I think it's I'd have to look it up, but again, it's only a few number of people were able to lift it over their head, and Mark Henry's one of them. So
yeah,
he was always I don't know, something about him I just thought was just unique because he was the big strong man, didn't talk. He just went out there and kicked ass, left. I loved when he had Tony Atlas because Tony Atlas is hilarious. He's a little weird on the internet. We're not getting into that. But what was the other thing? When he was with MVP, I liked that tag team. I thought that was a pretty good tag team.
He's one of the wrestlers that deserved a championship run way sooner than when he got it.
Oh, yep. I can agree there. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, not to get political here or that, but more black champions, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Bobby Lashley. I love Bobby Lashley. Like I wanted him to win back when he was, doing that stuff with Vince McMahon and Umaga and all that. So
his Salmon suit promo, I will always remember that as his finest moment.
You're gonna have to say that one more time because I just heard the train go by.
His Salmon suit promo when he's talking about retiring.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I think that's his finest moment.
Yeah, that's a great meme too. Yep. Anything from you there, Chad? You're getting kind of quiet. We're stealing the show here.
No, I was so stoked when Mark Henry won the title because I legitimately don't care for Randy Orton whatsoever. And when he beat Orton for the title, I was like, yeah, like jumping up. My neighbor came up from downstairs and said, what's going on? I was like, oh, I'm watching a pay-per-view.
I mean, I like, I like those super heavyweights, like Big Show, Vader, again, Mark Henry, and the nice thing I think that's really fun is watching them. Let's stream back to Rey Mysterio and Big Show, or, Rey Mysterio and The Undertaker, those smaller guys. Yep. Yeah, it's those. That's like a great combo. You had Braun and Brock, but I mean, you get that little big guy thing. I think that's more of a fun match to watch that little guy get thrown around and then, work his way back and stuff. So, Batista. Now, what was it about Batista that you liked?
He was a really big guy that could move. I mean, I love everything that he did in the ring, and I mean, I think I saw a couple more of his more intense promos, and I think I was like, I'm scared, something like that. But I watched them when him and Ray were a tag team, and then with the split up, I was devastated because I loved them together, and just I loved their story of how Batista felt like he betrayed him, like he ruined their friendship, and just a good blood feud. I always love a good blood feud.
Now, was that after Eddie passed away, Chad? If you can help me remember.
Yeah, that was 08. Because then he turned heel and then he became Hollywood Batista.
Okay.
He became Hollywood Batista because they didn't want him to go to Hollywood. But my favorite thing that Batista ever did was at WrestleMania 35 when he tripped getting in the ring.
Yeah.
Part of my favorite Batista moment. Like, yes, this is a star.
Yeah, I like Batista. I'm surprised how well he did in acting. I will say he is, very good at what he does. I'm sure I'll get shit for that, but I'm a big Batista fan in the movie world because I'm a movie guy, but also his body of work is very good in wrestling. Once he got away from Triple H, that's kind of when I liked him a little bit more. So
I think he was 35 when he started wrestling.
Yep.
Like, that's impressive.
That's DDP for that age.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then to go on and have the career that he did, that's impressive right there.
And one thing I will say with him, by judging a book by his cover, he looks like that jock, that bodybuilder that, thinks he's better than everybody. I mean, he's had his moments probably saying stuff like that. But then to hear his background about growing up in D.C. and his mom being, in, same-sex relationships, he had to deal with a lot, and he got through a lot of diversity, and I think that made him who he is. And, hearing that he removed a tattoo because one of his heroes, made a LGBT comment, which is just speaks volumes of what kind of man he is. Now, every celebrity's got their moments. Don't get me wrong, people, if you're listening, but after reading his biography and watching the DVD, he had to grind and he had to fight for everything. There's chances where he almost got cut, because he was doing that, that demon character, and they were solely watching him because of his body, but he had to grind to where he got, and he got his foot in the door and, became one of the top guys back then. So
the man's earned his flowers and deserves everything that he's gotten.
So besides those two, is there any other wrestling that you watch besides WWE? Are you a fan of AEW? Did you go back on the Peacock and watch like WCW or any of those territory days?
So another story. When I was a kid, I was at a sleepover with my friend, and So he had his TV. He was asleep, and I had the remote to it, and I couldn't turn the TV off because the button was stuck. And I didn't want to get down and wake him up, so I was just flipping through the channels, and I go on Spike TV, and I see the TNA six-sided ring with Joe and Styles, and I think they were doing this kind of fishbowl, pick your opponent thing, and then the lights go out, and it comes back on with people inside of the ring, and Sting's there with his bat. It's in between, I don't remember whose legs it was, but it was just like this crotch shot to them, and then the brawl, and I got excited because I didn't know what this was. And the next day, I tell my dad that did you know that Sting is still wrestling? And he's asking me, really? Where? I tell him it's called TNA. It's on Spike TV. And so we just kind of made that an occasional show that we'd watch together every Thursday night, and finding out who else is wrestling, what other names that he might know, because he watched a lot of Golden Age wrestling as well.
Okay, gotcha.
As did my mother, because they remember watching Saturday Night Main Event and WrestleManias with Andre. So, yay, number one. But I made TNA one of my need to see shows along with the WWE programming.
Yeah, TNA. I mean, we look at it now. It's on fire right now with Impact. But like you mentioned, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. A lot of those guys that weren't supposed to make it, ended up there, and it's unfortunate that WWE passed them up because a lot of those guys are surefire Hall of Famers. AJ Styles, one of the best to do it. Samoa Joe is intimidating as hell. I mentioned it on a previous episode where he came out and just got in Brock's face, and I was like, all right, you have my attention. That's one of my favorite wrestling promos is when Roman and Brock are out there jaw-jacking, and Joe shows up, and Brock's kind of not paying attention to Joe, and Joe just says, look at me. I was like, it's about to go down.
You can feel it.
Yep. The electricity, the goosebumps, I'm thinking about it now, and then Samoa Joe just comes out there, one of the first people to put his hands on Brock the way he did,
That was the lead up to Great Balls of Fire, right?
I believe so, yep.
Fatal 4-Way?
Yeah, Samoa Joe, I know he's in AEW now. I kind of wish he was back in WWE, but that's just me.
SummerSlam, because I went to SummerSlam, it was Braun, Brock,
Joe,
and the other Samoan Joe. And, it was a great match.
Oh, no, it was excellent. I really wanted Joe to get it, but...
Yeah. I wanted either Joe or Strowman to get it, and now I'm glad that Strowman didn't get it.
Yeah. We know why, yep. It's funny that you did mention Sting, how he was still wrestling in TNA. I mean, it's got to be a shock if you're an AEW fan, like how excited to see him, and then probably say again to your dad, oh my gosh, he's still wrestling.
The fact that he's going at the age that he is now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's kind of like Terry Funk, but Terry Funk was only like 45 when he started doing moonsaults, and Sting's 60.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that table splash. The man shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, growing up, I was a WCW kid, and I remember Surfer Sting. I really liked Crow Sting. And then I wasn't a real fan of the Wolfpack because I don't know if you guys can see, I liked Black and White NWO, the OG. I had to bust this shirt out because our guest on last episode, shout out to Mike D there. Make sure you guys watch that episode. He was rocking the NWO shirt, so I saw it today and I had to pull it out because I was jealous that he was wearing it. But yeah, Sting icon in WCW. I know the boys over at 13 Cards will say that he was more elevated because of who he worked with, and I can kind of see that. But also, I mean, he's got something there. But that's their opinion. I got mine, and
I agree, but I respectfully disagree because it didn't matter who Ric Flair went against. He had the same match with everybody.
oh yeah, yep,
Yeah. Same spots, didn't matter. Brian Pillman is press slamming Ric Flair over his head. Brian Pillman's smaller than Ric Flair.
Yep.
Same Steamboat. Don't care. Yeah.
comes out of the corner, falls. I think that's the funniest spot. It's one of my favorite. But like you said, doing the same thing over the top rope. You call it. All right, he's going to march up, then he's going to fall, and yep.
Yeah. So, yes, it elevated Sting to be in that world title picture, but I feel like it was more the title than it was it being Flair. And if I had to guess, the matches with Cactus Jack and the matches with Rick Rude, I feel elevated Sting more than his matches with Flair, even though the Flair matches are more critically acclaimed. But that's just my opinion. I'm more of a fan of WCW in '91 after Flair left than I was prior when he was still there, just because it was seen it type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, his surfer gimmick and then the transition was awesome.
And that Joker one that he did wasn't too bad either. It was a little, obviously, like the movie, but it was cool. He pulled it off, and now he's back to more serious stuff. It would be cool before he goes to see him kind of, do the Mick Foley route. If we could get, the Faces of Sting, where he just comes out before he retires, does the black and red, does the Joker, and then just before he retires, give us one more Surfer Sting, I think it'd just be kind of fun for the fans to see that one more time with those bright neon colors, the 90s face paint. I'm a sucker for face paint wrestlers, but what do you think? What was your favorite, Austin, of the Sting gimmicks or personas, faces, whatever you want to call them?
Well, I was born in '97, so I wasn't exactly old enough to remember anything before early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd have to be the Dark Sting. I remember a little bit of Joker Sting, and it was great. But the man's known for being in the black and red. So.
Well, black and white.
Black and white, black and red.
The black and red was... I liked it. I liked the Wolfpack because I was a big Kevin Nash fan. But looking back on it, it's pretty cringy in my opinion. I don't know. A bunch of white dudes, wearing...
I did like Conan in the group, though. That was one thing I felt like elevated Conan, though. What up, Chico? I like Conan in that, so... Or K-Dog or whatever he went by,
By the way, that my comment wasn't to be racist by a bunch of white guys wearing FUBU, because FUBU stands for Forest Bias, and it's a black-owned company, so that's...
Oh, I wanted to put two and two together. Somebody might, but...
Yeah, I just wanted to explain myself.
So, with wrestling... what are some of your live experiences? Have you gone to any shows with Chad? Did you go with your mom and dad? What are some of those first early live show appearances feel like for you?
I have yet to go to one, actually.
That's fine.
I thought he had went to one, and I asked him the other day, and he's like, no, I've never been to one. I was like, oh.
Hey, you'll get there. I mean, there's different types of wrestling, Austin. And some people, I just talked to Mike D, another shout out to Mike D and his cool NWO shirt in the previous episode. He doesn't go to independent shows, and that's fine. He likes the professional. I'm an indie guy. And if you're just a casual guy that likes to watch it at home, that's cool too. Wrestling is for everyone.
Right.
And how you watch it is up to you, because this is your wrestling fandom and experience, and if anybody gives you a hard time about that, that's not fair to you because this is how you enjoy wrestling. So this is me saying I think it's cool. If you haven't been to a live event, I think you should. But if you don't want to, don't. It's how you want to perceive your wrestling fandom. So don't let anybody take that away from you.
I've been thinking about it. I do want to. As a kid, I was not the most open with social interaction. So I think that was my biggest hurdle to get over before I felt like I was comfortable with even considering it. Mm-hmm. But I do want to go to a house show eventually. This guy's got a story for everything and a story for that. So he's telling me he's got all these connections with everyone that's come through 2CW and Ring of Honor and whatnot. So I want to get to a point where I can say that I've made a buddy that's gone through being an actual wrestler and someone who's made it to those bigger promotions like WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor.
Oh, Chad, we better start training, brother.
My connections are kind of faded at this point, but
I know some guys. I
was just about to say, Cal's the guy to talk to on that one.
Shout out to our sponsor, Darren Corbin. Darren, we're going to need some help here. If you and Eric could just kind of fast lane us to the top, we will take on any comers that are not very strong because I am a wuss. Chad will have to do the heavy lifting here. So,
I'm pretty sure that.
But yes, again, Austin, I want to reiterate that don't let anybody tell you how to be a fan. I feel like that's important. Do you, be you. That's what makes everybody unique. Like I said, I'm a huge indie guy. I know Chad swings towards AEW a little bit more than WWE now, but everybody has a different taste, and that's okay. So,
I was an indie guy. The indies down here just are.
You ain't no gator wrestling down there?
I'm sure there is, but I don't really talk to anybody down here.
Yeah. Well, I know Amy said she wants to go somewhere warm, so maybe we'll be down there in the future. Who knows? Never say never. So she is excited to meet you and Cass. I don't know if you ever told him how we met through social media. He just randomly had a page that popped up on my feed and going on 6+ years now, talking almost every other day, and scared the hell out of me in the hotel at WrestleCon because he snuck up on me as I was trying to text him back.
I was telling him the other day because I snuck up on him in the airport.
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Where are you?" He's like, "I'm waiting for my bag." And I said, "Yeah, me too." And then I see him, and I was like, "Oh, nice shoes." And he's looking around, and I snuck up right next to him. It's like, what are you doing?
Not funny.
You shouldn't be able to do that. Why?
Hey,
and you guys have obviously known each other for New York. This was just, us for the first time meeting versus talking on social media for so long. But I remember my grandma, she lives down in Florida there in Auburndale. And she drove me over to WrestleMania and WrestleCon because I guess I could have just took the van too. But she was all like, "Well, don't you leave the hotel with those strangers?" And I'm like, "Grandma, I'm like 36 years old. I know not to leave with strangers, but thank you for being concerned." I don't know where Chad would have put me. Probably in the trunk. That's probably the only way I would have fit, but then I would have been talking the whole time. They would have stopped and kicked me out. So, are we getting tacos or are we just going for wrestling?
Speaking of which, if we hadn't left earlier in that day, we had gotten Taco Bus that day.
Yep.
You could have had your first Taco Bus experience.
That's true, yep. Yeah, I know that was a long day for me. I did the WrestleCon. We left at 8 in the morning. We had a 2-hour drive to Tampa, or hour and or whatever it was. And then I tried to keep getting into my hotel room, and that guy at the desk was a complete dick and just like, normally I'm cool with retail workers, but this guy was just something else. Like, "Oh, we'll be ready when it's ready." Yes, but I called ahead of time. He said I could get in early. So, like, what's the deal? And then I didn't eat that whole day because I don't eat when I travel. It's a little personal thing. But I remember going to the Starbucks and getting like the cheese crisp sandwich things and a granola bar just so I had something. And then I didn't want to eat at WrestleMania because I didn't want to have to use the bathroom at WrestleMania. And then the thunderstorms and everything with that going on. Luckily, I was able to get some pizza on the way home. But yeah, I finally went to bed at like 1, 2 in the morning down there, and had to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and then zip back to where we were staying. But definitely an experience, that's for sure. So.
Well, I mean, it takes you an hour and a half to get anywhere down here.
Yeah,
So.
even if it's just down the road. So.
Yeah, we went to Hogan's Beach shop yesterday, and that's I think 46 miles. It took us almost 2 hours.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, like it's way too many people. The infrastructure isn't big enough to hold it all. It's a nice place. Don't get me wrong. The people are kind of weird, but
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I moved here.
Yeah. All right, Austin. We're gonna put you on the hot seat here a little bit. Are you ready? Is it getting warm? If you had to put a tag team partner with Chad on any wrestler, who would you pick to be his tag team partner?
Eric Rowan.
Eric Rowan? Okay. And now here's the kicker. Who's going to be your tag team partner?
Crap.
It's the only hard-hitting question I'll hit you with. I say you take your boy Ray.
Dominic.
Dominic?
I
Okay.
think.
Yeah, he's hard by prison, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, who's going over? Are you getting the pin on Chad? Are you getting the pin on Rowan? Are you going to give the straps to the Beards? We're playing fancy booking here. I love it.
I think I'm the one going down.
Nah.
Yeah.
He might just give you a little finger poke at Doom and then let you win.
If it was a shoot, probably be going down, but depends on who's booking it. Who's the booker? Is it you, Kel?
No, I'm not Tony Khan in this situation. I want him to book it.
Oh, you can't book and wrestle the same match.
I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm barely running this successful podcast right now.
Only Vince can do that. So.
All righty. Well, go ahead.
Oh no, he said only Vince could book and wrestle the same match, and I said Dusty did it for years.
Well, yeah. Good old Dusty Rhodes. I miss him. That is one I wish I could have met. Have you been able to meet any wrestlers, Austin, or
Does he count?
that counts?
No, I don't.
I mean, I wrestle with my emotions and tacos. Sometimes Andy, mess that up. Amy, take a shot and wrestle with Andy. Oh boy, that's embarrassing. That's okay. I'm not going to edit it out either. But all right, is there anything you guys want to plug? Anything? Last few comments. We'll get you guys going. I know you guys are hanging out down there. We don't want to keep you too long, and then I might have one more after this. I just got to reach back out to the guys. So.
No, just follow my Instagram. It's King of Old School, and I'm doing close-ups of my figure collection now.
There you go.
I'm kind of spacing it out so that I get more followers. But
This thing is so much more impressive in person. Like legit.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I have like 4 action figures. I'm kind of cool. And I think I think I have 6. Yeah. 4 are Otis and the other ones are Goldust. So yeah. So, but all right, boys. I appreciate you coming on, Chad. It's so great to see you. Glad you're back. We're gonna have to get you on future episodes again. Austin, thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. I appreciate you taking your time out of your trip to come on. We definitely have to have you come on again with Chad. That way you can razz him a little bit more, and then we'll get you going on that beard growth. So then before you know it, you'll look better than us. So I appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely.
And again, thank you for being a friend of the Squared Circle. I know it's a cute little tagline. So, all right, boys, we're going to kick into the lounge. We'll talk after. I'm going to plug these sponsors. And, as always, Chad, we got to get you back on. So,
anytime.
all right, we'll talk to you guys soon here. All right, I kicked him out real quick because I didn't want to get sentimental because Randy doesn't like that. Another shout out to Randy. We're gonna beat this one day. I don't know when. I don't know who, but you will get your picture on this beautiful belt if we can get past the views. So share, comment, like, subscribe. Let's get those follows. We're almost to 300. I know it doesn't mean much, but folks, we are trying to get to 1,000 because then I can rub it in Randy's little face. Keep telling